And welcome back to the Journey to the FarLands. Alright, let's see here. Got everything together, so let's bust out of here and get a move on. FarLands wait for no man. Alright. Got a creeper up there, zombie burning to death in the distance. And a sealed up hidey hole, and we're off to the FarLands. All right. Let's see. The world continues to grow. The Journey to the FarLands world, that is. As of the start of this episode, we are at 1,223.94 megabytes. That sounds like a good size. And it's going to get better as we keep traveling and just get bigger. All right. Okay, well, let's see. Had some comments and questions on the previous episode. And by the way, thank you very much for those. I very much appreciate it. Let's see. First one that comes to mind is Jeremy Pischel, who said that Johnny Depp's first movie was A Nightmare on Elm Street. That's the one I was thinking of. I thought of it shortly after I finished recording, but oh man, I was sitting there on a live mic trying to think of it, and it's just, no, you're not going to do that. But yes, that's the guy. That's the guy I was trying to think about, and yeah. It's kind of interesting because in that movie he played a more or less normal-ish kind of average American teenager in that day and age and so on. And ever since then his characters have all been, well, not exactly what you would call everyday normal guys. Or if you want it to be just plain blunt, his characters have been whack jobs. Absolute, total whack jobs. But, what the heck, that's fine. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, Freddy Krueger is a total whack job, and I think he's a great character. Okay, let's see. We have a couple of more comments, questions, whatever, from Mr. Super Cool Now. Let's see, he says, and I have to actually read this one. I can't just remember it. It's a little bit long. He says, based on the size of your world and how many blocks traveled and the known coordinates of the FarLands, is it possible to give a rough guess on the amount of hard drive space needed to get to the FarLands? That way we could see like what percentage of the way you're getting there, and you could see if you have enough hard drive space to even finish your journey. Well, that's a good question, and I'm quite sure that given that basic information, one could easily compute approximately how much hard drive space is required, and so on. The one bugaboo there is the how many blocks traveled. That information is not available on any kind of a regular basis, because to get that information, one has to press F3, and of course, when one is farlanding, one does not do that pressing of F3 until one reaches a fundraising goal. But even so, you know, then given that, it would be very possible to estimate how much space is required for a journey to the FarLands. In fact, information already exists to allow that to be calculated. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it wouldn't be a big deal to look up. When was the last time? When the last time was that Kurt J. Mack pressed F3. At that point, he was, that was Flobathon 4. I think it was the Season 4 Flobathon, which would be a year ago last April. He pressed F3, and it was 1,490,000, something like that, that he had gone from the FarLands, or toward the FarLands. And as for his hard drive space, that information is actually known about the size of his world save, because not only does he actually say what that is once in a while, during a recent 4-year celebration live stream that he did, he showed the entry on the Minecraft menu, although did not load up at that time while I was watching, the FarLands or Bust world. And that world was 16 point something or other gigabytes. It was something over 16 gigs. Now, granted, that is a year after he hit F3 for the last time, so it's going to be off by quite a bit. But honestly, it wouldn't, I don't imagine it would be too big of an exercise to find out, given a given world coordinate, at least a rough approximation of how large a world would have to be in order to have traveled that far from spawn. And then from there, it's a bit of reasonably simple math to figure out the amount of hard drive space that would take up, and how much hard drive space it would take to reach the known coordinates of the FarLands. So yes, you could figure that out, although the first time the information needed to do so for my journey will not be available until the first time I reach a fundraising goal. But once it is available, yeah, then you could make that calculation, and you could then find out if, or how big of a hard drive I would have to have in order to hold the Journey to the FarLands world, having gone that far. Bearing in mind, of course, that journeying to the FarLands is no small expedition. I have seen plenty of estimates that put the time required to do so at the current rate at somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 years. So in that amount of time, I think hard drive space would be the least of one's issues. Especially since terabyte hard drives, multiple terabyte hard drives, are so much cheaper these days. I remember way back in 1992, my brother and I used to joke about that. We had a running joke. The question, "What do you want?" occasionally would come up, and one of the standard answers was a terabyte. Now bear in mind, this was in 1992, when those people who had hard drives, which by the way was not all people, the way it seems to be, the way it pretty much is now. The number of the people who had hard drives had what it'd be by today's standards microscopic hard drives. Oh, that was brilliant. Now I gotta do it again. All right, let me get up here. Yeah. In 1992, having a hard drive of 40 megabytes was considered large. And even a gigabyte was, you know, kind of out there on the edge of believability, on the edge of you're never going to fill all of that, and so on. Yeah, right. I remember in later, a few years later, in, let's see, that would be in 1997, I believe. Got my first computer that had a built-in hard drive. It was a 1.1 gigabyte. And I looked at the capacity of that thing and I thought to myself, you're never going to fill that. Yeah, right. Not only can I fill that, I can do it twice on Sunday. Easily. Without even hardly blinking an eye. Because all I have to do is record an hour or two of high-definition video, and there you go. One hard drive on its knees, begging for mercy. But, yeah, that was a thing. You know, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday? A terabyte. You know. And it was just so incredibly awesome. So many years later, the larger part of 20 years later, I went to him and I told him, you know all those times we used to joke about, I want a terabyte? And I told him, well, I have one. And not only do I have one, I have two, because it was a 2 terabyte hard drive. It's one of the few things in life and computer technology-ism things, whatever, that I got there before he did. Because it seemed like usually he achieved such things well before I did. But I got the terabyte first. That was awesome, just being able to say that, remembering our old conversations from 1992 and so on. It was just totally awesome. Oh, anyway, don't mind me as I blather on and reminisce. Good times, good times. Anyway, I didn't mean to digress quite so far or long or whatever, but oh well. I'm going to have to stop doing that. Super Cool Now also asks, he says, also, have you watched Stargate SG-1? It's a good TV series that continues off from the Stargate movie. Well, not only have I watched Stargate SG-1, and by the way, Jack O'Neill is extremely cool. I have watched the entire Stargate SG-1 series, all 10 seasons, no less than, I believe 4.5 times all the way through. And not only that, but Stargate Atlantis, the spin-off series from that show. I've seen that one at least 3 times all the way through, all 5 years of it. Some of which overlapped Stargate SG-1. Very good show. Lots of adventure, humor, comedy. It was adventure and funny. And Richard Dean Anderson absolutely owned Jack O'Neill as a character. He absolutely freaking owned him. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better Jack O'Neill. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kurt Russell did the role very well in the original movie. But when it came to the series, Richard Dean Anderson absolutely owned it. And, of course, that reminds me of one of those facepalm joke moments that they write into the script. The first time that Samantha Carter sees the dialing device, when that first in the pilot episode where they're going after Daniel Jackson, and they go back to Abydos, yeah. They go back there, and she sees the dialing device, and she's just all over herself over it. And so this is the thing we were trying to that was missing from Giza, you know. And you know, we spent it took us 5 years and 3 supercomputers to MacGyver a replacement. You know, and she says this line about MacGyvering a replacement right straight into Jack O'Neill's face. And, you know, as we all know, Richard Dean Anderson was MacGyver. And he gets this look on his face like, what are you talking about? It was totally priceless. Yeah. Yeah, that was completely priceless. Hey, look at that. I dubbed thee the razor blade sand. I mean, look at that. Vertical stand up in a single block wide. And from a distance it did kind of have a blade kind of look. So this is forevermore. Oh, well, bad angle. Let me get a good angle. Get a good angle on that baby. I hope it looks as good from this side as it did the other side. I dub thee the razor blade sands. Yes, absolutely. All right. Okay. Yes, Stargate SG-1, totally awesome. Lots of fun. I mean, there's a lot of serious drama, and there's just plain silliness, and things that make you go, huh? And they had just the right mix of everything, the right mix of actors and writers and plot lines and stories and all of this stuff, that they actually made this thing last for 10 years, and, if I'm not mistaken, about 4 or 5 movies. Really epic. And it's not very often that a TV show comes along that is that epic and that good. Not very often at all, especially when you combine epic and good with long-lasting. It's really great to see something like that come along, and TV hasn't quite been the same since that show went off the air. I mean, yes, the story did eventually have to end or close or move on to the next thing because, you play the same people 10 years and you start thinking, maybe I would like to play something else, or maybe I would like to retire or something like that. And so there you have it. Okay, time is progressing here. You know what I haven't done any of is collecting sheep, well, wool or wood. So let's head over here and at least get some of them. I'm running a little bit on the low side. Hey, there's the sheep. And there's some wool or wood, and we'll tend to that in the morning. All right. Pop this down there. Okay, and we pass another night on the Journey to the FarLands. All right, now some wool. And some wood. Get at least a couple of these cut down. How are we doing? 34 logs. No, I'm not going to cut down that very big one. Because with all those branches and whatnot in there, to cut it down properly takes a good 10 or 15 minutes, and that would eat up the third day. And we don't want to have a day without progress, at least not part of a normal routine. Now for a celebrationary kind of thing, that would be different. Alrighty. I sense the opportunity for some extended boating. Cool. Alright. Let's make some extended boats. Alright, throw that in there, collect this. And we're off. Continuing onward. Let's see, Super Mastodon asks, hey TFC, just curious why you have this series on your vlogging channel than on your gaming channel instead. Is it because the series started here? Thanks and cheers. Well, the series did start here on the vlogging channel. And also because this, while it does take place within the environment and GUI of a game, it is still, by and large, a vlog. I mean, there's some game-like activities that take place within it. I cut down trees, I shear sheep, I dig hidey holes, I avoid, evade, or, at need, kill monsters, and so on. But it's still mostly a vlog with a bit of a story element to it. And as such, I think it's probably more appropriate here. And, of course, it did, like you said, it did start on this channel. In fact, it started on this channel in response to the results of... okay, there was one of several of the years that I was facing a winter with no heat I had just finished a winter with no heat, and I simply couldn't bear the possibility of having to do so again. And so I had one of those moments where oh, that looks epic. Thumbnail. Yeah. I had one of those moments where you realize that taking care of your need is not something you are able to do by yourself. And you have the option of either facing another extended time without that taken care of, or you can do what I did, and that is to completely and totally throw your pride down on the floor and walk on it as you head over to sit down in front of the camera and explain your situation and say, hey, if somebody could help with this, I would be really grateful. And as a result of my doing that, there was such an outpouring of positive, useful, helpful response that it just completely blew me away. In the space of just a couple of days, and I have to give credit where it's due here, because part of the reason for this massive response, I have to point out that this did not have very much, if anything at all, to do with my own personal reach, as it were, at the time. But frankly, good friend and great gamer Videozen saw that vlog, and he made a video of his own on the topic. And that man, even back then, before he was even a possible member of Mindcrack, he had some reach. That man has some reach, even way back. And in response to his video, mine kind of exploded. And in the space of a weekend, I sat there with my jaw on the floor as sufficient donations came in to guarantee that I would have heat for that entire winter. It absolutely threw me for a complete loop. And I decided that if my putting any word out, if I had anything to do with anything of that, which at the very least I made the original video saying, hey, my pride is on the floor being walked on right now because I can't help myself, and so on. I figured that if I could raise any kind of money for my own needs, for just little old me and my needs, then what about I just see about raising money for causes that are bigger and worthier than myself. And it didn't take me very long to decide that in doing so, not only would I do so, but that in doing so, I would emulate Kurt J. Mac's example and break out a copy of Minecraft Beta 1.7.3. I would load into a new world. I would spend the first episode, which was a 1-hour video and about 6 hours worth of off-camera recording, or off-camera work. And I would do what I do in any Minecraft world. I would dig a branch mine, and I would load up on resources. I would cut down lots of trees. I would shear sheep, and mostly I would dig the branch mine for all of the starting resources I wanted. And then I loaded up. I made a full suit of diamond armor, full diamond tools. I had 8 diamonds left over that I took with me, one of which has been used a few episodes ago to make the first replacement shovel. And I set out. I decided that if such an effort, such an endeavor was good enough for Kurt J. Mac, then by God, it was good enough for me. And I set out and ventured off on this insane, longer than anybody thinks anybody's going to keep doing it, journey to the FarLands. Because I enjoy the Minecraft Beta 1.7.3 terrain just as much as anybody who walked around in it back in the day. Oh crap. You know, I've been talking so much, my lips have been going flappity flappity flap, and I didn't even realize this is the end of the 3rd day. I have got to get dug in. Ugh. Yeah, so, okay, the long and the short of it is that I decided that if I could be a part of raising any money from my own situation, then why not do so for something bigger? After thinking about it, I decided that the Journey to the FarLands was a really great idea. Obviously, I couldn't use the same name for the journey as Kurt did, but that's not a problem. Journey to the FarLands is a very good, accurate, descriptive journey name. Okay. Here we prove once again that I cannot count and talk at the same time. Get some more logs or planks. Okay, I'm getting it together here slowly. Okay, I don't need 2 stacks of cobble. All right. You know what else I don't need? More than 1 bowl. There we go. Oh, well, gee, how about... Get out of my heart bar, you. All right, I'll go ahead and hang on to the bowls for now, but... Okay, anyway, finally all situated here. It's getting late. There are zombies are spawning all over the place. And I will say that, yes, so the long and the short of it is this thing is more about raising funds and whatnot and vlogging than it is about actually playing a game. Although we may have some gaming next time when I go to open this thing up and proceed on the next episode. We'll find out. In the meantime, you can donate to the worthy causes that we're working for here, Child's Play Charity and a Family in Need, at the official Journey to the FarLands website. And I think the only thing I should say now is thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out of here.